What's up, you all non-essential pieces of... It's Wednesday. Hope you're having a nice Wednesday. It's a beautiful morning. Not even the morning, it's the afternoon. Beautiful day. I don't have anything to say about the weather. It's a nice day. Happy Wednesday. I'm feeling a little tired, but I had my coffee. I'm waking up a little bit. And, man, great show today. We have Dwayne Brown, bar mitzvah DJ from Detroit, living in L.A., one of the funnest guys I've ever met in my life, and he has some things to say. Great stories. Great stories. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. I saw on the news the other day, or just listening to, I think I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about coal miners going back to work because they're considered essential, and the coal miners are like, how the hell are we supposed to stay 6 feet away from each other in a coal mine? It's like literally impossible. And this is like, what's funny to me is like all the essential workers are essentially just the hard as hell labor jobs. And so all these essential jobs have to figure out a way to protect their workers without, while still going back to work. So all these like new industry, or all these old like essential industries. I mean, construction is not stopped. If you've looked outside, construction is not stopped at all. Construction workers are all essential. I saw a TikTok the other day. This guy's like, government told me to go back to work because I'm essential. And he flips the camera around. And he's like, I make rocks. He's just like pulverizing rocks. It's funny. It's a little ironic that the essential people get paid very little. And they have basically the hardest jobs from a physical standpoint. And another thing is like businesses are worried. Some businesses really want to go back to work, and they're trying to get their employees to come back as soon as they can. And the workers are like, I don't feel comfortable. Sometimes they're like, oh, let's go back to work. And then other times there's businesses that are afraid to call people back into work because they don't want to get sued. Because you can imagine the kind of employer-employee relationships that are going on and struggles that are going on right now. Like, one, the employer needs business, needs to get people back to work so they can start making money, and everybody can get paid and all that. On the other hand, the workers are like, we're going to be around people all the time, you need to put systems in place so that I feel safe. So we all got to agree, or at least all these businesses and people have to agree on a certain hygienic standard of these rules that are put in place, of the 6 feet and the masks. And, hygiene is not easy. I was told I had to change my sheets once a week, pillowcases and sheets once a week. I don't even want to say what I'd been doing, because I feel like is that really how much you're supposed to change? I don't know. Is it? Unbelievable. I did not know that. Imagine all the people that are just like me, who had no idea, and they're all walking around passing around all this bacteria and germs and stuff. And people have different standards of like when they feel like they need to go to the doctor. Like, if you're from my family, until your leg is falling off of your body, you're not really going to go to the doctor. Until we just wait, kind of just trained to wait until it's like too far, or it's like affecting the way you move or live or walk or see, and then you go to the doctor. I had a ruptured disc when I was in college, and I waited 8 months to get an MRI. I only went because I could hardly walk one morning. But you got to take care of that stuff, just like hygiene, stuff on your face. I got a dermatology appointment tomorrow. Why am I talking about this? Because hygiene is all part of this COVID-19 virus, passing that stuff along. Some people go to school and they're totally sick, coughing, sneezing, haven't learned to cover up. And that's, what do you call that? Conscientiousness? What do you call that? Common decency? Common courtesy. How do you reach a consensus of common courtesy in the country? Who has to put it in place for people to listen? The Rock? If Will Smith comes out and says, "Hey, man, hey everybody," I mean, in a way, it's not totally off base because we do listen to our favorite celebrities a disproportionate amount that we do, say, the experts. Maybe I don't know. Name your favorite scientist. Name your top 3 favorite scientists. Name your top 3 favorite actors. Like no one's ever had that concept before. We're going to get into the Ahmaud Arbery situation down there in Georgia. This New York Times article came out May 13th, a week ago. This has been going on for a little while. But now that we have more information, I feel like it's a little bit easier to talk about because I didn't want to be reactionary. But if anyone has seen, basically this kid was just going, he was just jogging around. He likes to jog. He was jogging around through the neighborhood, and these 2 dudes, father and son, said they were gonna try and intercept him in their truck. And they pulled up in front of him. He ran around them. Then he pulled up in front of. They kept on trying to stop him, and he kept running around them. And then they pulled up in front of him, whipped out their guns. He charged one of them, and then they ended up shooting and killing him. Just a jogger, just jogging. Unbelievable. And 2 months passed. This happened in February. 2 months passed before there were any arrests made, and there's been lots of people being like, "Oh, they're trying to cover it up." Like, the father had ties to. He was like the son of a police official, and now there are protests in Georgia. People have kind of risen up. I'm looking at this New York Times article right now titled "The Citizens Arrest Law Cited in Arbery's Killing Dates Back to the Civil War." So they had this law made in 1863 there in Georgia that you can arrest. The residents of Georgia are allowed to arrest one another if they have witnessed a crime and the police are not around. Witnessed a felony and the police are not around. Doesn't say anything about even the kid did not commit a felony. He was jogging. So automatically that shouldn't even be considered. Like if you see a guy walking around with a gun shooting at people, then that's a felony. But jogging in the neighborhood is not a felony. And so that's like, of course I don't even know why that's even really being considered. Is like, why did it take so long for these guys to be arrested? And also, like, at what mindset do you have to be in to go try and intercept a jogger with you and your son and a Magnum and a shotgun? Like, that's honestly more fascinating to me. Like, what kind of fear do you have to be just like possessed with to make you want to do that? Apparently, people had been saying that there had been break-ins during that neighborhood, and they thought that that this Ahmaud guy might have been connected, but still, going out to go intercept him with guns, you think you're Batman? It's a lot. Too many people in the U.S. think they're Batman. Like, malevolent vigilantism is what I would call it. Malevolent vigilantism. Yeah. Because there are people out there who take justice in their own hands. They feel like they're Liam Neeson and they're, Batman. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if there's any, more positive cases on how that's ever worked. But, there's so many different branches that this could go off into in terms of like a public discussion. Obviously, there's the race route. There's the gun route. There's just a political policy route of like why these archaic laws are still in place there in Georgia, where you can Like these are Wild West laws that you can like. You basically like laws that bounty hunters like held up against or something. Someone messaging? Is that a comment or something?
No, it's Sammy.
Oh, okay. What up, Sammy? How you doing? Yeah, disturbing. It's messy. It's very messy, and you gotta. The tough part too is like you have all these people standing up, protesting, lawyers getting involved, and I've heard they're just kind of just putting it off because of the whole pandemic stuff. Like I don't know, courts aren't even really in session because you can't really congregate right now. We're starting to see here in Michigan apparently the UP and a lot of upper regions of this state are opening up on Friday. What is that? Do you know why all of a sudden? Because I keep on hearing like, oh, nothing's going to open until June. And then like things keep on getting pushed around. Like I wonder what kind of data was put forth for the governor to finally do that. Money? What makes you say that?
You got paid.
Paid by who?
The people that started that woman from Michigan campaign.
Whitmer hopes to open up other areas in Michigan in the coming days and weeks. Here's what Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is opening. Peterweights across the nation. Wow. Okay. Lots of upper Michigan counties are being opened. I'm assuming because of the data and the medical data just does not support keeping all these businesses closed. They kind of weighed the options. She's getting kind of famous these days. Our governor. Hey there, guys. Come to Michigan. Get some fudge. Hey, I'm Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We're in a state of emergency. It's stay-at-home order. Her eyebrows.
What'd she say about the Labatt? She's like,
Labatt's.
They got the beer wrong. We only drink Michigan.
Labatt's. We don't drink Labatt's, do we?
We drink Michigan. This shit was funny.
In SNL, they did a parody of it.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Labatt.
Ooh. In 15 minutes, we're gonna get Dwayne on. There's more I want to talk about. This whole essential workers thing has just been irking me a little bit. It's like how the essential workers are essentially like construction workers.
How the essential workers are essentially workers.
The essential workers are being put in a tough position. It's like we say, stay at home, stay 6 feet apart, do all these things. You have to flatten the curve. Except you guys, go back to work and do everything that you're already doing. And man, construction workers, I feel like do not get paid enough. What do you think? I mean,
They get paid a lot.
do they?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here I am again, just totally unprepared. You know what? 7 people watching. What do you of the 7 people watching? I want to hear your opinion on when do you think it's appropriate to go back to work? When do you think it's appropriate? Are you listening to the CDC? Are you listening to what your boss is doing? Are you listening to what your friends are doing?
Connor Cervone says hi.
Hi, Connor. The whole, also working from home. Like some people, the amount of the diversity of outcomes for people in this in this pandemic is incredible. Some people are probably realizing their true selves during this pandemic. They're like, I can work from home. I got so much free time. I'm going to make inventions. I'm going to like do all this sweet stuff. Other people are like, oh, Jesus, I'm screwed. Like, I can't work. What am I going to do? Man, imagine relying totally on your income as a waiter or waitress, man. Like, I wonder, Lyft has created a task force to deliver and transport people in serious need. But how do you vet, like, who's in serious need? Like, at one point, is it just Lyft again? Like, Lyft and Uber creating a task force to help the people in serious need. I feel like they're just hanging around probably hospitals and airports, possibly. Because that's one thing I came across in when I was delivering groceries to people. It's like, at what point am I just Grubhub? At what point am I just Postmates? Unless you're vetting, like, that's where it gets weird. That's where it gets tough. Like, you have to decide who's in most need, and you typically you get an email and you're like, wow, this person, yeah, they could use my help, so I'm gonna do it. And other times you're not sure. Hi, Connor. Connor, what's on your mind? Connor and I are inventing this really cool device. I don't care if these 4 people hear that what we're inventing, because I think it's really cool, and they're gonna invest and give us some capital. It's a custom court that you can create. You can create a volleyball court, a 4-square court, a spike ball court, maybe even a badminton soccer court, anything just from this one device, all coiled up like a measuring tape, but it's a measured string. And so now you can just invent all these awesome yard games based off this invention. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Forever Court. Invest in Forever Court. It's also like a cool construction device. Oh, man. Nolan, tell me about this person that randomly just came up to interview you.
Oh, for full-time work?
Yeah.
Oh, it was, let's see if I can get it. Does it work? Are we good? Hey, there we are. So yeah, it was for what's it called? TikTok. It's TikTok.
Dude, what if TikTok starts a news service and they have all these TikTok journalists going around? Subscribe to TikTok News.
It's the future.
It's the 60-second news
Future. I don't even have it.
with effects.
Yeah, just some girl contacted us. It's like, hey, what up, though?
She's from where? Where's she based out of?
Her area code is from New York.
Wow. You know what? Never before did I think that there was a huge skating community, a bunch of people just so invested in skating to the point that there are journalists being like, where are all the skates? Why are all the skates sold out? It's a swell. It's a bubbling swell in the ocean of foot transportation.
Roller skates.
Transportation.
Roller skates.
First there was city bikes.
Roller
then there's
skates.
Lyft scooters and birds.
Test,
now there's
test.
going to
There
be
we go.
community roller skates that you can just put them on your
know, it's
shoes.
crazy, right?
Community Heelys. You're just going to
Community Heelys.
Community Heelys.
I don't know about community Heelys, but we'll say
Camellies.
Camellies.
Everybody's going to have wheels on their shoes. Everybody's going to be getting to where they're going much faster.
So the
Pedestrian collisions are going to increase 5,000%.
She had just wanted to know, I guess, what skating is now because of the quarantine.
What is skating?
Um,
You're like, what? Like, you want me to describe what?
Forward and backward and lateral motion.
What is a wheel? Forward and left.
Do you have to have 8 of them? No. There is a woman that does it on 2, and then there is a guy
Can you
who
skate
does it
on
on
one
1.
wheel?
Yes, there is a guy who skates on 1 wheel. I think his name. It starts with an L. It's like Lenny
isn't
or
he in
Larry or. He does have a good time on it. They've got like stoppers in the back of their plates and stuff like that. But
In Ann Arbor, I was going to school at U of M. There was a guy who would wake up, I swear, at like 7:30
yeah,
to like, and he would put on a morph suit, like a black morph suit.
Oh,
He
boy.
looked like Frozone, and he would unicycle around in a big helmet.
he would unicycle around.
He would unicycle around in a big helmet, and he looked like some superhero.
Oh boy.
He was like the unicycle superhero in a black morph suit. And you're like, I wish I would have followed him
Yeah.
to see where he was going.
Yeah, I never done that myself.
You've never followed someone just to see where they're going?
No, I've never just unicycled in a black morph suit around anywhere.
I feel like you'd look good in a black morph suit.
I feel like I probably would not unicycle, but I would definitely go as Slender Man for Halloween because I am very skinny. So, but yeah,
You're not that skinny.
yeah,
It's just about doing that. Can I guess how much you weigh?
you can guess.
175 pounds.
Close. It's like 160. Yeah.
Okay.
My freshman year of high school, I wrestled in the 125 range.
How tall are you?
6'4".
You're sick. We're the same height.
Think so.
I didn't know
yes.
that.
But I have no muscle. That is my issue.
Well, come to CrossFit with me.
Yes. I'll bulk myself up.
You just got. It's all about
Do the
calories,
John
man. More
Wall.
calories
John
in
Wall.
than calories out. That's all it is, man.
Yeah, I have to get the protein. I have to get the protein mix.
No,
I have to get the mass gainer, and
you just gotta just do.
I had
do
an ex-girlfriend's sister who was like into nutrition and worked at GNC, and like they had told me about like all this stuff that I had to take, but like don't ever go to GNC because they'll just sell you stuff they make money off of. They don't care.
oil.
They don't care about what you do. So, but like the real meatheads, like they'll go in there and they'll be like, yeah, I know what I want. You're not selling me this because I know you make money off of it, but I know what I want, and I want this, and I want that, and it's like, all right, dude. Like they'd come in there and they'd be
Look, bodybuilders.
creatine, B12.
They're just picking up heavy shit just for no reason. You want this shelf moved? I can move this shelf for you if you want.
While we're at it, I'll just help you with the planogram. I already know what all of the stuff is, anyways.
I bet you I could bicep curl both of you. Stand on my shoulders. Let's get an Instagram pic. Hashtag 2 strong. Hashtag 3 strong. Yeah, dude. Just do 100 of those a day, and you'll be a 185 in no time. No time. Vanilla.
No,
Vanilla.
that's the skate company I skate for.
Vanilla?
Yes, it's called Vanilla. We got some comments.
Yeah.
Connor says, I think it's hard to define when to go back to work. It should be on a case-to-case basis. Coral said, I'd invest in that. I'm guessing your invention you were talking about here. Connor said, I think many companies can get back to work and do it as safe as possible, but it's impossible to enforce everything. I agree with that. Yeah. Just about broke my eardrums with roller skates. Yeah, that was my fault. I had the mic turned all the way up. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize, Connor.
Yeah, you might have to be careful if you're listening on headphones. That's a great point. It's all a case-to-case basis. Like individuals have lived very complicated lives, and businesses are very complicated and intricate. Like people waiting for the CDC and for the government to tell them what to do, how to restart their schools, how to restructure their entire businesses, and how a step-by-step plan how to re-enter the workforce. It's not going to happen. It's never going to be specific enough to you. So you really have to just focus on your own reality and like see, okay, am I willing to risk this versus this? Like the government cannot tell you that, and they will never know the specifics. And so, yeah, it's not coming. So that's why, crowdsourcing this information. Schools, I feel like, are going to be so interesting how they approach kicking back into schools. Technically, it's going to be end of the school year very soon, especially for elementary schools, right? But colleges start. I mean, man, it's a huge mess. I'm not even involved in it. I can't even imagine. But when this stops so quickly, when everything kind of just stops so quickly, yeah, as a principal or superintendent, you have the opportunity to really change a lot. Like, you could see this as not as a big halt, or you could see it as an opportunity to kind of lean things out and make things better. I feel like people our age have a personal, a deep and personal connection to making education better. I think everybody does, but it's one thing. Like, you always feel like you were in a way shortchanged, or your time was a little bit wasted, or because you're being held captive. Like, from preschool to 12th grade, you're essentially being held captive in these classrooms because you didn't really choose to be there. You're there, and you're like, okay, since I'm here, I might as well do something, make the most out of it. But you don't really want to be there. And so some of us decide that we're like, okay, the system is to get great grades and get into a good school, so let's just do that. All right, what do I have to do? All right, let's just do it. And other people are just like, none of this applies to what I want to do whatsoever. And they really rebel, and like they just find themselves like just unable to pay attention, uncatered to, just not listened to. So making education is specific enough to where you can really pursue your own interests. But I guess what schools, if you change your perspective and just think that schools are really just introducing you into all these different topics, and it is up to you to go and pursue them as deep as you would like, extracurricularly. Is that even a word? Phenomenally extracurricularly. Well, I'll tell you what. It's almost 4:30. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Dwayne on. I'm going to send him a quick text. Just about broke my eardrums. Coral's looking to invest in Forever Court. Looking to invest. We'll set up a yeah. Other thing I wanted to talk about, once we get to Dwayne on here, we're going to talk more about this Ahmaud Arbery case and all the just outrageous laws that Georgia still kind of has, and that whole situation. But I want to hear from you guys. Have you run into any specific problems during coronavirus that you just never thought that would ever be a problem? Like all of a sudden you're unable to do this one thing because these places aren't open, or all of a sudden this thing is out of stock, or all of a sudden you can't see this one friend or this group of friends or go to this certain function. I know a lot of people haven't been going to the gym a lot or anymore, and certain group functions blows my mind. Everybody out there in LA and New York, all these productions, these film productions and these TV productions, like I saw just recently the Producers Guild just putting out a big message like, hey, we're ready to work as soon as possible. Like, all these production companies, it's like, hey, we're here. Please put us to work, because it's what they do. Like, they cannot work without people. Like, they supply the equipment and the footage and the crews. So, man, I know there are people putting together big funds and big funds to help people who have just been put out of work. But man, I'm just blanking on a lot of stuff right now. It's like I have 40 things that I want to talk about, and then I'll just at one point just they all align, and it's like, oh, now I know what the heart of it was. But to you five people listening, I applaud your patience. We're gonna get Dwayne on here real quick. Dwayne, such an interesting guy. Met him through. Oh, Dwayne's on. Here we go. Give me a second. Getting Dwayne on here.
Video?
Hey, Dwayne.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
All right.
So wait.
Hey.
Are we gonna be able to see your face or no?
How do I do that? Video?
Yeah, share video.
Is that me right there?
There you are. How's it going, man?
Good.
Good to see you, dude. Dude, I love that gecko painting in the background.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, dude. I love that thing.
That's a fun guy.
That was a good framing. Man, so really excited to have you on, man. I had Andre on, and immediately I was like, man, I'm so glad I met you through Andre. It's crazy that you're just living like 2 blocks away from me when I was there in LA.
The whole time. How long were you out here, by the way?
About 2 years.
About 2 years.
About 2 years. And March 15th, when all my months of shoots and productions just kind of were just peeling away, just like everything was canceling and being postponed, and I just kind of had a glimpse into the future. I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's going to be turned around anytime quick, and I was able to be pretty mobile, and I made some calls, and I decided to move back to Michigan and start doing some stuff.
Man. Well, I'll be back there. We can play some golf together when I get back there.
Yeah, man. How often do you come back to Michigan?
You know, my girlfriend lives there, so I come back pretty often.
Right on.
Now man. it's kind of tough, but yeah.
Yeah.
She's there, so.
A little bit of background. I don't even know some of the most basic information about you, Dwayne. I know you were a bar mitzvah DJ, and you're from Detroit, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you move out to LA? And give us like a.
So I moved. I actually worked for a company in Detroit for a while, and I've always been infatuated with writing. So I've always been infatuated with LA too. So I moved out here about I think it was 12 years ago. And I've been out here for about 12 years, and just started off from scratch and kind of just moved up the ranks out here as far as a entertainer, DJ / DJ.
I think you've DJ'd a lot of my friends' bar mitzvahs. University people in.
If you're from Michigan.
Yeah, from Michigan, like the Bloomfield, Birmingham area. Yeah. But
I mean, to name some, I'm sure we probably crossed a lot of paths there.
Yeah. When did you get into that? And how?
So I was actually I was in a dance school, and they came in and asked, did they know any MCs or did anyone know any MCs? And so I decided, I just started to work for a company that had just opened, and I was the first MC there. So I had to go around looking at different like MCs in the background of synagogues, sneaking in. It's kind of neat. But just to see what it was all about, because I had no idea what a bar mitzvah was when I first started. So just kind of like snuck in and kind of watched services and kind of got an idea of what it was. And then I found out this is a great way to party and make some money.
And during the quarantine, all this, how have you run into any problems with continuing your business?
It's probably the biggest problem now. It's just like weddings. No one will be allowed to do a wedding for a while.
Yeah.
Or, bar mitzvahs. A lot of people are starting to downgrade or move their event to a different date. I do have other MCs that work for me as well. So it's kind of, it's hurting on a few people's, but it's better to be safe than sorry. But yeah, it's definitely weighing in on the industry that I'm in. We can't go back to work for a while. It'll be a while.
Well, once things are able to people are able to congregate and do groups and parties again, it's gonna explode. You're gonna be just booking crazy. Yeah.
I think the problem is gonna be is that there's gonna be a lot of people that want to book that from last year or this year, who's going to end up redoing their party. So it's going to be triple the amount of people that's getting married, getting bar mitzvahs,
Yeah, like
it's going to be triple the amount. So
it's like after the war ended, like all these people are getting married and having parties and celebrating.
I mean, it's time for a celebration. I think real soon is what I'm saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Other than that, how have things been in LA for you? Has your life been impacted in some tough ways?
The good thing is actually my impact has been positive because I just took the time and started writing, and I'm actually writing a film right now. So, basically this quarantine has been a good thing for me. On the other hand, not being able to work, there's some, negatives to that, but you got to take the positive and make sure that you work hard on it. I've been working out. I mean, I'm working out more than I've ever done in my life, I believe.
You running up that Whitley Hill? That hill?
Oh my God! Actually, we did.
Yeah.
That's the word. Like you don't really run up that hill. You got to kind of like take your time.
Yeah.
To get up that hill.
It's good for you.
Yeah. So and like I said, brain motivation is always good too.
Now in terms of I just lost some visuals, but I'm still gonna talk.
Yep.
I like to talk about community while we're on here. Like, people have started to create digital communities or find like their digital community in terms of like music with their friends on Zoom, all sorts of ways to like stay connected with the outside world while they're in quarantine. I was wondering if you like found any community while you're being quarantined.
The crazy thing is I know a lot of the DJs and MCs and different guys out here that not just here but Michigan, and we've been actually working on some type of benefit for the DJs, and just really trying to get the DJs together so that when this is over, I can supply some guys with some help, they can supply me some help, that kind of feel. So that's pretty much the partnership that we're looking at after this is over.
So you've been working with other DJs to like what's the DJ community like? How do you guys like help each other out and fill in spots for each other and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I work with a company in Detroit. A lot of those guys split off from the company that I work with in Detroit. Some guys are out here. So we kind of we want to work together. We're still friends. It's not like, I don't look at it as competition or anything like that. I just look at it as let's all get together and work. There's enough work out here for everybody. So right now, the clients are calling me that can't rebook a date. So we basically try to work it out so that someone that I like. I mean, not every DJ is a great DJ. So I just look at it as try to find some of the guys that I love working with and, try to get them some work, and hopefully they give me some work as well.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to jump into this New York Times article and what's been happening in this Ahmaud Arbery case. If you feel like getting into that.
Yeah, that's a real tricky subject with me, especially growing up in the era that I grew up in. It's hard to talk to some of the friends that I have that grew up in the area about stuff like that, because they just don't realize it. There's a lot of things that go on with growing up with racial discrimination, being a Black person. And then there's a lot that goes on with being white in the same situation where you have Black friends. So, you have to go back to the parents of all these people that actually are racist, because that's all it is. It's racism. I don't think that they were trying to find out if this guy was trying to break into a place or whatever. That's not. That's not how I feel about it. I feel like that I'm Black enough to know that it was racial discrimination. And like I said, growing up, you had to deal with it. Like I grew up in, like the 80s, in high school, and you had to deal with that in high school more than now. I think a lot of people now are starting to notice it because of social media and how that's pushing people to understand the real tense feelings that some people have for another race.
Yeah, and I mean, who shows up in a truck with like their son with a gun just out there trying to intercept people. Like that kind of vigilantism. It's just like,
Right.
what is driving someone to do that other than just like
Well, I mean,
a pure
I had
irrational fear?
I had a situation. I think it was back in like '87. One of my good friends, we played basketball together. He was a white guy. We played basketball together.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to his house, and I'd never been to his house before, and didn't realize why I couldn't go to his house. So I knocked on his door, and his dad came to the door with a shotgun. I mean,
Jeez.
that could have been me in the situation right there. Um, well, basically, I had to talk my way out of, being either killed or shot or whatever it was. To talk my way out of it, and when I talked my way out of it, I think it was the turning point of my life to not blame everybody for what some people are capable of. And so after a 45-minute conversation with his dad, and I am, 17 years old, 18 years old, after 45-minute conversation, not sure if I changed his mind all the way, but I changed a few, thoughts, and perhaps change a few people from getting killed.
That's such an intense situation that very few, if any, people can even comprehend. Like especially me, like going over to someone's house and the first thing you see is someone's parent with a shotgun, and like what is going through your head when you see that? And like, what kind of things were you trying to communicate to him?
Basically, that we've been friends for a long time. Me and his son, we had been friends since like sixth grade, and this was like senior year probably junior year in high school. And basically, I just tried to tell him that we're all in this in the same game, and you know I don't think he really was like the person that shot these guys, the Arbery guy. I don't think he was quite there, and hopefully he never got there. But when you can kind of get into someone's mind a little bit and see who they are, the intensity is not as hard, um, because you like at that point in my life too, I didn't have a lot of stuff going on for me. I mean, I was just playing basketball. I was just I'd left home years before that, so I didn't really have anything to lose by talking to this guy and making him feel a little more comfortable about a black person being a friend with his son. So I mean, I'm not sure what words I used, but I mean, I'm sure they were powerful enough that I got off that porch safe. So, and I can laugh about it today.
That is so wild. And I remember talking to you about you were in New York City and during like stop and frisk,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
said,
No, that was crazy too. Um, Mainly, I it was a crazy. Had crazy things going on, but I'd go to school every day at 19th and Park, and I would get pulled. I'm not pulled over, but they would actually just grab me around 17th and Park just before I got to school. Probably 3 days out of the 7 days, or out of the 5 days, and they'd ask me to check my bag. And like the first couple times, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Here, check my bag. It just but when you push someone so much, and people ask, why do people get, violent and things like that, and why are people so violent? When you push someone to the point where you're always harassing them, it's hard for you not to be violent. And luckily, I'm such a kind-hearted person that it never took that toll on me. And maybe because of some of the things that I've seen in my life and some of the actual, you know, things that happen in my life, that it just, and at one point it did take a toll on me, and I got a little frustrated, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't want to be one of those guys that end up in a grave, so I just cooperated.
and so you expected them to stop you every day.
And they did.
Wow.
Yep.
And I feel like there are stories coming out already about, just groups of people being harassed because of the social distancing mandate in the city. And, already black people are getting infected at 3 times greater rate. and there's like statistics out there on that. And I feel like there's another reason for cops to kind of be harassing people in inner cities that are just like out just
Right.
being.
Well, you know, like a lot of the thing is with the cities and the black people and getting the virus a lot quicker, is because the inner city, you're going to get that. Just like in New York City, it's not, you know, the majority isn't just black people. It is the people that actually work as essential workers. You know, bus drivers, people that have to ride the bus every day. Like these guys are the ones that's catching it. And most
Right.
of them, you know, 60% of essential workers that work on the bus, subway stations are black. So you're going to find those numbers a lot higher in that situation. You know, you don't find them where the blacks in the suburbs. So you're not, you know, you're going to find a lot more cases because, you know, you got housing projects that are how are you going to social distance in a housing project?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, think about that. So, you know, it's tough to make one community a scapegoat.
Oh no, yeah, I definitely wasn't trying to make a scapegoat. I was looking at this. I was listening to the radio talking about they're taking coal miners back to work because they're essential. And the coal miners like, how the hell are we supposed to stay 6 feet apart from each other in a coal mine? There's 14 guys crammed in an elevator, and these guys are already immune deficient because they work in a coal mine. And so these essential workers are being put in an incredibly difficult situation. And if you're driving a bus or you need to take the bus or public transportation, and but you're also an essential worker, you're being put in a very tough situation where you have to do this. And, you know, the government and like the hygienic policies in place for your business or whoever you're employed by need to be good enough for you not to be scared. And so I feel there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're just being walked into a no-win situation.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, don't think that I'm not saying that people are not following the distance. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, like, you know, I look at some of these videos and you can't always tell from pictures, but I mean, you can tell that, you know, a lot of people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. But, you know, there's all kind of areas that's happening. So, and I guess a lot of places are starting to slow down and move in a different direction now. So we'll see what happens in a couple months with that.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to me this recent case. Like this guy was just jogging down the street. Like I jog down the street all the time, and you know,
I know you're a marathon man.
Yeah, man. Like you and. Imagine you
imagine you running a marathon and then some dudes just roll up on you.
Oh Jesus!
And all of a sudden you're dead. You know, there's another one of my friends gone. Now, I mean, and the problem with that is that, and I'm not saying anything on you know, like, but you really don't have to have that problem.
No, I don't.
This happened. No. Let me tell you something. I got pulled over on a bicycle.
Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was riding my bicycle home, and an officer decided he wants to pull me over on my bicycle and ask me for my ID. Now, I didn't have my ID on me. He pulls me over, he throws my bike down, pushes me up against the wall, and says, "Why don't you have your ID?" I said, "Because I live 2 blocks away. I just ran to the store to get something." 45 minutes later, he lets me go.
45 minutes later.
45 minutes while I sat up against the wall, while people looked at me like a criminal, you know, it's not fair. It's just not fair. And it hasn't been fair for a long time.
They just call it driving while black, don't they? It's just like, I mean, you just treated so much
riding while black.
Riding, bicycling.
Or jogging while black. Like there's so many, you know, things that it's people will say, "Oh, that's the everyday life. You get to do that all the time. It's freedom." Not really. Not all the time.
Yeah, man. I've definitely experienced some cops, not to the extent that you have, but are just looking for trouble. They think they can smell trouble, and they think they just like they know without really, with any cause. I was just driving back to my home in college, and I had my friend Shavar and Aaron in the back. One of my friends was black, and Aaron was Mexican. I get pulled over for tinted windows, and he's shining his flashlight in the back, and he's like, "You guys have IDs?" And I knew that there's no reason for them to have to show their IDs. They're not driving. They didn't do anything wrong. If anything, you need my ID, and that's it. So I said, "You don't need their IDs." And he said, "I'm just asking if they have them." Well, I'm like, it doesn't matter because they didn't do anything. And so I was talking about the cops because I knew what the situation was, and I had this sense that he was just eyeballing them, and which is just like, man, this is just ridiculous. And
right. And don't get me wrong, I have friends that are cops. I have a lot of friends that are cops, and I don't disrespect cops. I'm not saying that I don't like cops, but there are a lot of bad cops out there, and there's a lot of people that want to make sure that black people don't make it to the next step. So, I respect the officers. I respect all police officers, and I've always learned to respect police officers. I think that's one of the things that black kids are taught as a young age is to respect police officers. And so when they say, the guy, I forget his name, who they said they pulled the gun away from the officer and tried to shoot the officer, I just can't believe that.
Yeah.
I just no matter how much some black people and some white people hate the cops, I don't know anyone with the balls to do something like that at 14 or 15 years old.
Right.
I just can't see it.
Oh man. So what do you think about this law that exists in Georgia? It's like it allows people.
There's so many bad ones there. Which one are you talking about?
Okay. So they have this law that they cite in this New York Times article that was made in 1893 that allows the citizens and residents of Georgia to arrest and pursue people that they believe are committing a felony. And so they were trying to uphold like that argument for these two guys, but meanwhile this guy wasn't doing anything of the sort. And so what they were trying to do, like they had 3 prosecutors recuse themselves that were trying to defend these two guys, and they just keep on trying to like create these ridiculous arguments for these two guys. And they're citing these super old laws that are basically made for the Wild West for like bounty hunters. So people in Georgia can like, go like pursue and create their own like idea of justice in the world with their guns. And so that's like the big movement that's going on there in Georgia. People are kind of rallying around changing those laws so people don't have really the ability to go out with guns and try and instill their own form of justice. And so that turns into kind of a gun issue,
which we will never handle. We'll never be able to handle a gun issue, which is, we could talk about that for years.
Yeah, I know.
I think that the law itself, there's, like I said, Georgia and a lot of southern states, there's a lot of things that go on in those states that I just don't understand.
Like what?
I think there's a lot of them are still stuck in the Jim Crow age. And the respect that they get, that black people get. I was down with friends down Georgia, Atlanta, and you see, you go to Atlanta and you're like, okay, where are all the white people or where are all the black people?
Yeah.
It's never, okay, there's a combination of each.
Yeah.
Whereas, you go to places like Michigan, you come to LA and stuff like that, there's more of a combination of, a mixture of people. So you don't feel uncomfortable one way or the other.
Uh-huh.
So, I think down south, they have a lot of problems that they haven't settled. And I don't really want to get into blaming or any of that stuff, but there's a lot of things down there that I don't think I'll ever understand.
Right. Yeah. I think, I've never really been. I've never really been.
Yeah,
I've
been. Yeah, no, so just a perfect example. A couple of my friends, we were all driving down to Florida for a golf trip. And, I don't want to say what state because I don't want to, brand a state. So we stopped in a Waffle House, or no, excuse me, not Waffle House, Cracker Barrel.
Uh-huh.
So I will say Cracker Barrel. So we walk in the door, and they didn't, understand what I was going through. I was the only black guy.
Uh-huh.
So they didn't understand, like the guy take us to the back, we sit in the back. The waitress basically threw our food at us to the point that we all walked out of the place thinking that they spit in our food.
Mm.
And they finally understood a little bit of what I go through. You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes, I don't go through it all the time. Don't get me wrong. It's not every day I have to deal with all this. But you have to deal with it, and that's enough itself. So, they figured it out. They were like, wow, I've never been in that situation before. And, they opened up some eyes to them. So unless you see it and it happens like to either one of your friends or someone that you are really, I feel like if you're really close to, then you won't understand it.
Yeah. 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 And that's why I think it's so valuable. Like I'm so engaged with your stories because I haven't experienced any of this and I haven't really experienced a lot of this with my friends. And so when I hear these stories, I'm just blown away. And so maybe to you, it seems like, yeah, this happens all the time. But there's so many people just haven't heard of these things happening. And they just kind of all speculate because they don't have any friends that have been through any of it. And so this is kind of, this is like really great to listen to just to hear your perspective. And I'm sure you've told these stories so many times too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to cry about it, bro.
Man.
Now you just become strong and you think about it and you just live through it and just kind of get through it. I mean, the situation that happened on the bike, that was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
Whoa. So
it still happens, but it's not like I go by and hate every white person or hate everybody that's not black. I mean, I'm pro everybody. I love everybody. And that's what life's about.
Mm-hmm. So
you got to keep what you have inside and just try to instill it in other people so that they can become a little better, even if it's just a touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I see that when I went to hang out with you at the bar down there in LA, man, you definitely are so much fun to hang out with, man. You know how to party. You know how to bring just groups of people together. Like, it's a gift, man. You got a gift for that. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
Where do you think that came from?
Oh, I mean, family. Like I said, my family is. I left at a young age, like I said, but family will always be there. And going to my family's house for Christmas and singing Christmas carols and doing that type of stuff, it's always been a joyful part of my life, and that's always something that I've always loved. Singing with the family, whether we were Jackson 5 when we were kids, or just karaokeing at the bar, So it's always been like I've always tried to push joy, and maybe because of a lot of sadness has happened to me, so I try to push a little bit more joy out than sadness. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I guess at some point in your life, you may have just kind of seen the healing properties of joy and celebration, and man, I
think that's why I do what I do as well.
Absolutely, man. It's like you see the value in people coming together and singing and dancing and celebrating. Like, it's rehabilitative in a lot of ways. It's like therapy. Like, some people you can't go so long without having some fun and coming together and dancing.
I'm ready to get out of the house now.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, you gonna run up that hill?
Let's go. I'm gonna take that hill, man. After our conversation today, I'm gonna take that hill.
Oh, dude, yeah, do it and run up Runyon. Run to the Hollywood sign.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit far
You'll
fetched.
Get there.
But, when I get your skills, then I'll try to run you.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been talking for a half hour, and I still haven't got my visuals fixed. Every time I talk, it just goes to a black screen, and I'm alone in the studio here. But it's just gonna be the way it is for a little bit. I'm trying to do it at the same time.
Don't worry about it. I'm good. Yeah.
All right, good, man. Sweet. So can you tell us about you want to talk about the film that you're writing? I know that Andre is writing a TV pilot with you.
Yeah. He's writing Masters of Ceremony, which is a show that we've been I've been working on it for a while, and he took it over because his thoughts are a little bit different than mine in that one, and I needed someone to kind of move that along.
Yeah.
I'm actually writing a show called Three Cats in the Boot, and it's a story about three black men that end up in Malibu. One of the guys' best friend is a white male that lived in Malibu who, ended up with a lot of money, and the story goes on to be a lot of fun in Malibu with three guys. Just don't want to put too much out there, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Malibu is a beautiful place. Have you?
Beautiful.
Is it based on your life or something that happened in your life?
No, I just created it myself through driving through Malibu. As a matter of fact, took a nice little drive through Malibu, and I said, "Hey, let me write a story," and I started writing it. It became so much fun. I usually try to write something a little more not comic, but finally wrote a comedy.
And where did you draw your inspiration in filmmaking from?
So I studied at Strasberg Film School in New York, Institute in New York, and I think I've always loved just telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they were lies when I was a kid to my mom, I could make up some good ones, or just making up a good story for a school project. But I've always enjoyed making up some good stories. So that's where my inspiration came from. I think more like movies that I saw when I was younger. Godfather was one of them that inspired me the most about trying to make a gangster movie, which it's kind of tough, but I went a different way. But yeah, no, movies is really what made me want to write.
Do you have siblings?
Yep, I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 1 younger, 3 older.
Are they creative people as well?
Yeah, they're all pretty creative in their own way. I think I get a lot of my creativeness from my older brother, whose memory is like an elephant. So I wish I had his memory, then I probably could write a little faster. But yeah, all my family has influenced me in different ways, in different areas. Mm-hmm.
Right on. This what when you moved out there 12 years ago, do you remember what it was like, and do you remember trying to get things going and trying to figure out what is going on out here in LA and how things get moving? Because I remember when I was out there, it was like this world is like it's propped up on these dreams and these dreams of fame and fortune. You go out to Santa Monica and Malibu, and you're like, wow, look at these houses, look at all these billboards, and you're kind of taken back by all of it, and it absorbs you, and it starts taking you into directions that you never thought, like, oh, I don't know if this is the direction I want to go. Like, do you remember trying to figure out what you wanted to do when you moved out there? And
yeah, I totally remember my first few weeks and months out there. It was tough. It was a couple different situations. I was in a situation where I came in, and one little situation was walking to Paramount to do a show, and I'm carrying all my equipment to Paramount. I don't have a car. I'm like, walking to Paramount 1.5 miles trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And you get into the studio, and then everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it inside the studio, and you're like, and you don't even remember that you walked there. You just remember what goes on in the studio, and then you leave out of the studio, and you realize you got to walk back home.
Right.
After just being around all these, stars, all these people, and here you are, hoping nobody rides by you when you're walking back home. Like little situations like that. Some people in the studio, you're coming out, driving by you, and you say, "Oh man." So like that was like the start. It was really tough. Just people believing in you,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to get people to believe in you. And I think the easiest way to do that is to through a little laughter, but I have to be a serious guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But just make, trust is the biggest thing. And if people trust you, then they'll work with you. And so hopefully I still have a lot of people that trust me out there.
Dude, I guarantee it. And you're just like so much fun to be around that like no one can ever forget you. And you never know. One thing I realized when they always say like not about what you know, about who you know, it all ties back to just being authentic to people and being trustworthy. And you never know when these people are going to come back into your lives and give you an opportunity because you stayed in their mind and you let them know what you're up to, what you're good at, and you kind of revealed yourself to them. And it could be years, but every now and then someone will just reach back out like, hey, man, what are you up to? How you doing? Like, I have this opportunity for you. It's wild how that happens.
It's so wild. Just the other day, I mean, I know I got a lot of stories, but I'm going to tell you one.
I want to hear them.
So a little girl, that I did her party, and was it 90? I have her sweatshirt right there. It had to be 12 years ago or so, 14 years ago. She sent me a photo of her doing her dance with her sister at her bat mitzvah. Just made me feel so good that she thought of me, 12 years later, So she sent me this video, and I was so excited. So I go into my closet, reach in my closet, I grab her sweatshirt that I had for 12 years, put it on, sent a photo of her. I think we made each other's day just by, just a quick, photo from before in a sweatsuit. So, little things like that is just, treasurable.
Yeah, man, those those are the best. These people that you had these parties for, they grow up and you don't know where they end up, and they're like, oh, you threw a party for me. You're like, who are you? And then they're just like, yeah, they're adults at that point.
It's amazing. Like it's funny because I still know a lot of the kids and adults now that I've done events for. So, it's important that you do keep a, good communication with people.
Yeah, I think that's what I found there in LA that started to bug me a little bit, but I came to grip with it, which was relationships almost are so important that to the point where almost to a fault to the point where they're valuing their relationship over the product and over the quality of the product. And I was finding that in some situations when working with clients and working with people that they knew that something was not going right and it needed to be better and the standard of quality was not being met. But in order to save face, they kind of just ran it over with politeness and never really said anything critical because they were worried about ruining a relationship. And to me, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between working with people, getting things done, and being honest without putting relationships at risk. And that's one thing I picked up when I was out there. It's important to be honest, but in a way that you're still seen as being useful, and you're moving things forward, and you're not lying about quality. I don't know where that came from.
That's the most important thing, is not lying about quality, because everyone will see the end game.
Yeah, man. Wow. I feel like I'm in LA right now for some reason. I just like.
I mean, I'm looking at you were, man. We go out have a. Oh, we can't do that just yet.
yeah. Zoom happy hour.
We'll do it there. Hey, man, do you mind if I blaze during this thing?
Go ahead. Honestly, at this point, the video is like not even working. My Wizard of Oz behind the curtain just disappeared, and so I'm pretty sure people are still listening on Facebook. Still, but I don't think they can see us. I can see you.
All right. Yeah, all right. Okay, cool.
Well, honestly, I was so excited to have you on because I know you have all these awesome stories. Like, I almost like what's the story about being in New York? Because I've been interested in visiting New York, and I had no idea what it's like over there and what the people are like. How long were you there?
So I was in New York for almost 5 years. The last that I was in New York was the Tuesday or excuse me, the Friday before 9/11. That's when I left. And I haven't been back since. The only reason that I wasn't back in New York at the time is because I had a court date in Detroit on 9/11.
On
So I was
9/11.
out there on 9/11.
Wow.
Never forget, me and my buddy Gerald were going to court, and he stopped at my house to pick me up, and we looked at the TV. He said, "Turn on the TV. Look what's going on." I couldn't believe it, and I didn't go back since, and I want to go back. But New York City is such a melting pot that there's so many different types of people there. From Australian to, there's different types of human beings there. So when people talk about New York, sometimes they don't realize and how rude it is or whatever. And I don't know if that's still the case, but and I haven't been there, like I said, for at least 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that New Yorkers were the nicest people of all people. They were just welcoming. They would welcome you into their house and feed you. There was a lot of great people that I met in New York that were actually New Yorkers. A lot of the people that were rude people were the people that were visiting because they weren't used to the hustle and bustle.
Right.
So, when you're on the street, now, like I said, the law was the law. And I do believe that, was it Giuliani back then?
Yeah.
And the other guy had something to do with it too. Guy who just ran for Bloomberg. They both were trying to create this system that one time you steal a candy bar, you go to jail. Really? People are hungry up there. They're stealing candy bars because they're hungry. And it's not because they're I don't know. I just think that when this law came about, it just made the officers feel that they had some extra authority.
Right.
But I think some officers was just following the law. So my thoughts, and like I said, I go, because like I said, I have friends that are police officers, and they tell me what is right, what's wrong, not what's right, what's wrong, but they know what's right, what's wrong, and they know that some people aren't as law abiding, even though they are the law.
Right. And so you loved it out there. You loved just how friendly everybody was.
One of my favorite places.
Where'd you live?
I lived a couple different places, 32nd and 31st and 2nd.
What neighborhood is that?
And I moved to, that's Manhattan, Lower East Side, kind of like Midtown almost. It's kind of like weird, And then I lived in Williamsburg, which was so much fun. Then I moved to Brooklyn Heights, and that was the last of it there.
What are some things that you experienced in New York?
Actually, I lived in Astoria. Crazy. So I lived in Astoria back in the day, right? And Astoria was just crazy because you go there and it was, and like, don't get me wrong, I just didn't speak the language. It was all Korean or Asian. And I couldn't even go to the store and understand anybody there. You know what I mean? So I had to move out of there really quick because I couldn't, I've never been in an area where
you couldn't even function.
I couldn't, I thought I was in a different country, It was really crazy. I'm not putting it down. I just didn't know the language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just couldn't even, so every time I came home, I was like, but yeah, no, it's just tough. You go to the store, people following you around the store, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, and you can't say, hey, I'm a cool dude, because you couldn't even say, I can speak language. But no, it was probably the craziest place I've lived in New York.
What, mostly because you just couldn't, you didn't know the language? What else about it?
It was so crazy because I had actually moved in for a couple of weeks with this guy who I went to film school with. He's like, hey, I got a room available, So I was like, okay, cool, and he was Asian. Great guy, you know what I mean? And so, he was like, hey, you can come stay with me. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't even really know New York. I was only probably there for, a month and a half, 2 months. So I moved in and I'm just like, I just couldn't do it. One of those areas where, I just felt like I just couldn't, I needed to learn the language in order to be there.
Yeah. What is something that you can experience in New York that you can't really experience anywhere else? You think?
Ah, I mean, San Francisco's similar in a way where there's a bustle, hustle and bustle. I think the theater in New York is the best.
Yeah.
Think really, I love going to the theater, and then you go off Broadway. You go to different theaters, you could see different, um, people just doing monologues for a show, or you know, I think the poetry of New York is what I enjoy.
I can imagine being, just laying down in your apartment in Manhattan or Astoria, wherever you were, and just like feeling
That
that.
thing was as big as a shoebox.
Yeah, that's
When
the
I
other
lived
thing
in
is
Manhattan, I think I lived in a freaking shoebox.
yeah, like you.
I spent $500, man. I think my legs stood over, as they were going through the wall. No, it was a small place. And then as a couple months, I realized that moving to Brooklyn was a lot better. But Manhattan was it was tiny.
I can imagine, man. That's what scared me so much about potentially moving to New York, because my dad wanted me to move to New York because we had kind of have some family over there. But I was like, I visited when I was younger. I've been to San Francisco, and I've seen how small those places are. And I'm like, man, I'm 6'5". I need some space. Like, I love being out west. I love the national parks and nature. Like, this does not seem like the lifestyle for me. And so when I moved to LA, I was really happy to be in the open space. But New York, that's what scares me the most about is the claustrophobia of it. But I guess you get to the point where you kind of get in the groove of the pacing and the rhythm and the hustle and bustle of it. So you kind of feel like one with all these people around you. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine having kids living in New York.
Right.
I just couldn't imagine it. You would have to be super rich where you just get, I couldn't imagine it. I don't think you have to be super rich. I just think that it would be a lot easier because it's just so hard to get around. Like, you don't want to walk around with your kid everywhere, Well, and I'm sure a lot of things have changed since I've been there, but when I was there was a lot of, there's areas you walk across the street and it's millionaires, and then you go to the other side of the street and there's people that live in housing projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the unique thing about New York too, is that just 2 blocks over, you got the super rich, and then you got the housing projects just right next door.
Mm-hmm.
But New York is a great place.
The place where you live right now is called the Fontenoy, right? Or it's the I forget the name of it, but yeah, or it's really nice. Your apartment's awesome, and I was it a long road to get to that place? Like, do you remember when you finally moved into that place and you just like sat on your couch? I was like, damn, I made it.
I still look to make it, but yeah, I think that. A couple of years ago, I kind of sat back and said, yeah, this is great. I'm living the life that I like. Yeah, and yeah, I think that was a good time. A couple of years ago, basically, and I found a young lady that I love too. So that was a good part of my life. So yeah, I'd say 2 years ago is when I sat down and said, hey, I love it.
You seem like you're an Angelino at this point.
I love it. I can't. It'll be hard to leave. I'll tell you that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you, out of you've been out there for 12 years. Like, what is one of the toughest struggles that you had to go through, and how'd you make it through, out there in LA?
Toughest struggles I had to go through was people not knowing who I was.
Mm-hmm.
Having to change my identity totally from someone who was known to someone who's not. in the city of Detroit or Michigan, it was, you had your fans. I don't want to say fans, but they were. I love people, and I love, they were a lot of fun. And out here, I was someone different. I mean, I had one person that I knew, and I had a buddy named John Lane who helped me out while he was out here, and we kind of like tore it apart. We just kind of picked out different areas where we were just gonna, work on things, and we both put our 50-50 in and just worked hard.
Did you have to? What did you change about your mindset in order to get there, you think?
I've always had a mindset of no matter what, I'm going to survive.
Yeah, that's a great mindset.
Yeah, it does. That never changes. So it was just a matter of hustling.
Mm-hmm. Just never stopping.
And getting out and, not stop. Don't stop. Go. Don't stop. Be the best when you get there. Don't ever slack once you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the qualities that you have to put in yourself to make yourself the best.
Mm-hmm. Preaching, man. That's one thing I like to talk about a lot on this podcast. Like when people talk to me about like what this talk show is really about, I say it's kind of, it's a casual, enlightening, informative. Like what I'm really interested in, as well as just current events in the news, is psychology and mindset and being relentless on improving yourself and what you really want and how to get there, breaking things down into small pieces and solving them like individual problems and just creeping towards your dreams. Because I'm definitely a dream chaser as well. I think you might be able to relate to that. I love chasing dreams. They fuel me. I have all that. You got to work with passion. You got to train with passion. All these things, when you inject passion into it, you forget what time it is, and that's when you know. That's when you know that you're doing something that really means something. It's when you have no perception of time. That's kind of what I've found. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, we are timeless if we make ourselves timeless. We're only who we are and what we leave behind. So whatever you leave behind is the way people are going to remember you.
Mm-hmm. That's a great message. I want to end the podcast. We've been talking for about 40 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up here real soon. But thanks so much for coming on the show and talking with me, man. Like, I always love hearing your perspective. I feel like I can sit and listen to you tell your stories for hours. I want to have you on again. That gecko photo is amazing in the background.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Dylan. And we got to definitely work on another project together, man. Get some of that film out.
Absolutely, man. Let me know when you come back to Detroit, and maybe we'll play some golf. I'm always around. We'll be in touch, man.
Real soon, bro. All right, man. Thanks again.
All right. Peace, brother.
Peace.
All right. People of Facebook that are still listening, I am sitting in a black void. I know you can't see me, but that's okay. You can hear my words, and you can see how you can't see my messed up hairdo or whatever. I appreciate you guys listening in, even past the point where the video cut out. I know, it's a little annoying, but you know what? We're going to do it anyways. And we'll be back again Monday at 4 p.m., which is 1 p.m. Pacific to 5:30. We're going to have Oren Levin, my man Oren Levin. He is a very talented musician now. He moved back from LA about the same time I did. I met him in college. He's so talented. He's always producing really great music and hilarious dude. One of the funniest guys I know. I can't wait to have him on. We're going to have another live music sesh and continuing to have guests on who have some things to share, some stories, some new fresh perspectives on the news, psychology, and total human optimization, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, we'll be back soon, and I appreciate you guys listening. I will be back, and you'll be able to see my face next time. All right, peace out.